How can a bodhisattva, a great being who courses in perfect wisdom, be without these faults? The Lord. If the bodhisattva, the great being who courses in perfect wisdom, perceives that all dharmas, as unattached and not taken hold of, cannot be fully known, if he courses thus, then he courses in perfect wisdom. But if he settles down in a dharma, which he cannot possibly take hold of, then he lacks in perfect wisdom. And why? Because the perfection of wisdom cannot be expressed by way of settling down. The discrimination of antidotes. Subhuti. Is, then, the perfection of wisdom not lacking in the perfection of wisdom, too? Is the knowledge of all modes not lacking in the knowledge of all modes? If that were so, the discrimination of the impairment of the ability to go wherever one wishes to go. How then can the perfection of wisdom be consummated, too? How can the knowledge of all modes be consummated? The Lord. Here the bodhisattva, the great being who courses in perfect wisdom, does not settle down in form, in this is form, or his is this form, and so for everything up to the knowledge of all modes. He does not settle down in form, too. The knowledge of all modes by way of permanence or impermanence, ease or ill, self or not self, calm or not calm, empty or not empty, sign or signless, wish or wishless, isolated or not isolated. And why? Because a dharma which has no own being cannot aspire for permanence or impermanence, too. For isolatedness or non-isolatedness. An own being which is empty of own being is incapable of consummation. This bodhisattva, this great being again will, when he courses thus in this perfection of wisdom, too, in the perfection of giving, stand in the knowledge of all modes. Just as Subhuti, the fourfold army of the world ruler goes just where the world ruler goes. Just so, Subhuti, wherever the perfection of wisdom may go, there these five perfections go likewise, and where the knowledge of all modes is, there they come to a stand. F. The second discrimination of the subject. Referring to the holy persons as being conceptual entities, which is ninefold. The discrimination of not going forth according to the program. Just as a charioteer, having mounted on a chariot drawn by 4 horses, goes along on the right road, just so the perfection of wisdom acts as a charioteer for these 5 perfections, and by the right road it arrives where the knowledge of all modes is. The discrimination of the cognition of what is the path and what is not the path. Subhuti. What is of the bodhisattvas, the great beings, the path, and what is not the path. The Lord. The paths of the disciples and pratyeka Buddhas are not the paths of the bodhisattvas, the great beings, but the path to the knowledge of all modes is the path of the bodhisattvas, the great beings. These are both the path and the no-path of the bodhisattvas, the great beings. The discrimination between production and stopping. Subhuti. For a great performance has this perfection of wisdom of the bodhisattvas, the great beings, been set up, for it guides to, this is the path, this is not the path. The Lord. So it is, Subhuti, so it is. For a great performance on the part of the bodhisattvas, the great beings, has the perfection of wisdom been set up, since she shows up the path and the no path. For an immeasurable and incalculable performance has the perfection of wisdom of the bodhisattvas, the great beings, been set up. But, although the perfection of wisdom lends luster to the performance, it does not take hold of form, to consciousness. Nor has it been set up for the sake of taking hold of discipleship of pratyeka Buddhahood. But on the contrary, this perfection of wisdom is the leader of the bodhisattva, the great being, to full enlightenment. She does not lead to the level of the disciples or pratyeka Buddhas, but to the acquisition of the knowledge of all modes. It is thus that this perfection of wisdom neither produces nor stops any dharma, if the fixed nature of dharma is made into the standard. Subhuti. If the perfection of wisdom neither produces nor stops any dharma, how then should the bodhisattva, the great being who courses in perfect wisdom, give gifts, how guard morality, 2. How develop wisdom? The Lord, after he has made the knowledge of all modes into his objective support, he should give gifts. Having made these wholesome roots common to all beings, he should dedicate them to supreme enlightenment. Then the 6 perfections go in him to their full development, and so does the knowledge of all modes. A bodhisattva, a great being who is not lacking in the 6 perfections, is also not lacking in the knowledge of all modes. A bodhisattva, a great being who wants to know full enlightenment, should therefore train in the 6 perfections. When he courses in the 6 perfections, then the bodhisattva, the great being, having fulfilled all the wholesome roots, will reach the knowledge of all modes. Therefore, then, should the bodhisattva, the great being, make efforts about the 6 perfections. The discrimination between conjunction samyoga and disjunction viyoga. Subhuti. How should the bodhisattva make efforts yoga about the 6 perfections? The Lord. Here the bodhisattva, the great being, should contemplate thus. Form is neither conjoined nor disjoined. It is thus that the bodhisattva, the great being, should make efforts about the 6 perfections. The discrimination of the standing on form. Moreover, the bodhisattva, the great being, should make efforts in the sense, I will not stand in form, and why? Because for is not established anywhere. It is thus, by not taking his stand anywhere, that the bodhisattva, the great being, should know full enlightenment. The discrimination of the loss of the lineage. It is just as if a man would want to eat mangoes or breadfruits. First of all he must plant mangoes or breadfruits. Having planted he must in due season and at regular times water them, and carefully look after them. As they gradually grow branches and boughs, his fruits will get ready and obtain the full complement of conditions. And he will be able to eat those mangoes and breadfruits. Just so the bodhisattva, the great being who wants to know full enlightenment, should, after he has trained in the 6 perfections, help beings with gifts, with morality, patience, vigor, trance, and wisdom, and should liberate them from the round of birth and death. The discrimination of the absence of striving. Therefore, then, a bodhisattva, a great being, who wants to gain a state where he cannot be led astray by others, to purify the Buddha field, to sit on the terrace of enlightenment, and to turn the wheel of Dharma, should train in the 6 perfections. Subhuti. You say that he should through perfect wisdom train in perfect wisdom. The Lord. Sir, I do. I say also that he should train in perfect wisdom if he wants to gain the development of sovereignty over all dharmas. The discrimination with regard to the absence of a cause. And why? Because this perfection of wisdom through which one gains the stage of the sovereignty over all dharmas, is the door to all dharmas. Just as, Subhuti, the great ocean is the door of all rivers, so is the perfection of wisdom the door to all dharmas. Whether persons belong to the vehicle of the disciples, or to that of the Pratyeka Buddhas, or to that of the Bodhisattvas, they all should train in just this perfection of wisdom. Therefore, then, the Bodhisattva, the great being, should train in the 6 perfections, too. In the knowledge of all modes. The discrimination of the apprehension of hostile dharmas. Just as a teacher of archery, Subhuti, when he has found a suitable bow, cannot be overpowered by his enemies or foes, just so the Bodhisattva, the great being, when he courses in perfect wisdom, cannot be overpowered by Mara or the divinities of his host. Therefore, then, the Bodhisattva, the great being, who wants to know full enlightenment, should train in perfect wisdom. And when he courses in perfect wisdom, then the past, future, and present Buddhas and Lords bring him to mind. Subhuti. How do the Buddhas and Lords bring to mind the Bodhisattva, the great being who courses in the perfections, in the emptiness, too? in the knowledge of all modes. The Lord. Here, Subhuti, the past, future, and present. Buddhas and Lord bring to mind the bodhisattva, the great being, who courses in the six perfections, but in such a way that thereby no giving, morality, to wisdom is apprehended. Through non-apprehension they thus bring to mind the bodhisattva, the great being. Moreover, the Buddhas and Lords do not bring the bodhisattva, the great being, to mind through form, too. Through the knowledge of all modes. 3 reasons for the attainment of full enlightenment. The indication of the great achievement to others. Subhuti. When you say, Kausika, doers of what is hard are the bodhisattvas. The great beings, who have neither hesitation nor stupefaction about these deep dharmas where all dharmas are empty, who can have any hesitation or stupefaction about them. Sakra. Whatever Subhuti the elder may expound, all that he expounds with reference to emptiness, and he does not get stuck anywhere. Just as an arrow shot into the air does not get stuck anywhere, just so Subhuti the elder's demonstration of Dharma. End chapter 59.